Hello, welcome to Minecraft, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to build the iron farm that I've been showcasing in my Realms series. Now the main reason I'm making this video is because it has been requested a few times, so here I am making it today. Anyway, to get started you're going to want to start off with a 23 by 23 area, so if I just get myself into a nice spot, so we'll make this the corner and then we'll go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and we want to make that square, so another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then we want to make this go down by 4 blocks, so 1, that's 2, 3, and 4. And then so when I've finished that, I'll come back and show you the next step. While I'm hollowing out this hole, there's a couple of more things I should say. The iron farm needs to be at least 64 or 64 blocks away from any other village, and preferably you need to have no other doors in the area. I'll explain later when I get to that step what a door is. So it needs to be at least 64 blocks from another door, not another door, another village, and of course another iron farm. And I usually go for around 70 because that makes it safe. The main reason for that is that the center of the village needs to be inside this hole, and if it's not, then the iron golems could spawn in the middle of between this village, this iron farm, and the other village that you have in the area. So it's quite important that the iron farm is 64 blocks at least from another one. Okay, now that that hole has been dug out, there's a little bit more to do. You need to now leave a 2 wide gap on 2 wide walkway in each area and go down by another 2 blocks. And that has now been done. Now before I continue, I'm going to start saying the resources that I need. So you need 64 doors, I think you need around 70 glass, you need 10 hoppers, 9 pressure plates, 2 chests, that's to store the iron and the poppies that you get, 1 bucket of lava, and 2 buckets of water is good, but you can make do with 1, as long as you have a water source, and some torches. The number of torches you need is dependent on how much you want to light up this area. Anyway, the next step is to build up these blocks in the corners by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So do that in each of the corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And the last one over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you need to get your 64 doors and place them 8 away from each of these new columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there'll be a 3 block gap in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll keep doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Leave 3, and keep placing. And we're nearly there. Last wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now we've finished up the doors, and we don't need those anymore. The next bit is to cover up these doors, just the block above the stone, just above the door, with a solid block, not glass. So use all the blocks that you just gathered from digging up this hole, and put a roof on top of your doors. And this now means that the door now has a roof, which it needs to count as a door. However, there's one more thing that you need to do as well to make sure it counts as a door, and that's to provide it daylight access. Now, since we're putting this underground, that's where we're going to need our glass. So when I finish this line over here, so we now need the glass. While I'm at it, I'm going to start building the villager compartments. Now you may realize that we left a 3 wide gap here, and that's to put the villagers in. So there's a little bit more digging required, and you need to dig out 3 wide and 3 deep holes. So it'll be 9 blocks deep, and just build this up here, and there we go. And put a torch in the middle so they do not spawn zombies, because that would be terrible when you have villagers in here. So once again, do that on all 4 sides where there's a little bit where you left the gap. And of course you don't have to build this out of granite like I am. I'm just doing out of granite because that's the block I have in my hand at the moment, and it's far simpler than just changing every single time. So another torch, and then we put another one here. Keep going. Oh yeah, and there's a few more blocks, things that I forgot to mention that I need as well. I'll put a full list of what you need into the description, so you don't have to keep checking, and you don't have to count up every time I use a block. So there's another one there, and the last one needs to go over here. Let's build that up quite nicely. One more, and then dig that hole, and there we go. Now we'll leave the villagers for last. The next step is to put in some glass. Now I mentioned earlier that the doors need daylight access. This entire thing in the middle is going to be covered up with dirt or whatever rock you want to use, so you can't have the daylight access through here. That's why we provide the glass on this side, and therefore this is the daylight access that the door needs to count as an actual door. And the more doors you have, it will be counted as a village. So I believe you need 8 doors to count as a village, or 8 villagers to count as a village, and they will need that. So, and the more doors you have, the more villagers will naturally breed inside it. So when we finish this, it's time to start work on the villager. It's time to start work on a little bit more of the catchment part of the iron farm. Now, I did you had to dig this entire area out. I was a little bit wrong. You do need to leave a little bit of a corner in each side. This is mainly to prevent the water from flowing into each other and forming source blocks, which would fill this entire area, which is not what we want. Now that we've done that, it's time to get your 2 water buckets and go like this, and then the source block will form in the middle. So you had 1, 2, then you can use the empty bucket to grab the one in the middle and go into 4. Since I have creative mode, I'm just going to use the water bucket all the way along the edge, and you'll see in a minute why. Make sure you do not put it in this corner here, because then it will form source blocks. And last line. There we go. Now you'll note that the water neatly forms into a nice square in the middle. This is where your catchment area is going to go. So we'll go down a few blocks, and then we'll leave that for the next part of the video. And there we go. I'll fill that hole there. The next bit is to cover up you can start putting torches in here as well. Probably just in the middle and on the corners would be good. I'll do that now. This doesn't really do much. It does help prevent things from spawning, but I've very rarely seen things spawn in here anyway. Anyway, the next bit is to put a block on top on this line here, and this is your second catchment area for the iron golems. So when we finish this, I'll come back and show you the next step. And now that has been completed, you put in the 4 corners just once again, and then use the water buckets again to put the water through. I've put it into my inventory here. There we go. So water buckets all the way on the top again, and once again you'll find there'll be the 3 wide gap on the top. Please don't form the water source. Good. Okay, so there'll be the 9 squares of holes, so just punch that out again. And if you're wondering, it's going to be 8 blocks from each of the middle. So if you were to measure 8 blocks from here, and then you'll come up to here, and you do that 3 times, and you can leave a little bit of a hole without having to cover it up and then dig it out again. I've now switched over into night mode because this step must be taken at night. Now, one thing you need to do here is divide these into 2 barriers, because then you're going to put a zombie villager on each side, so 1 and 2, and you can of course just pillar them on top of the torch that you have already put into the villager compartment. So I'll do that. I know technically I'm using the walls because creative mode, but make sure you're going to be up here, and you'll find it easy to do that, as I just did in the video. Now I'll do the last one over here by flying. 1 more, and there we go. Now the next step, it's important that you get the adult zombie villagers, because the baby ones can in fact go under this block here. Now I'm just going to spawn them in because it makes it easy. I'm going to make sure that I'm actually I'm going to make sure that I'm actually using not peaceful mode, because then they won't spawn. Alright, there we go. So a zombie villager and a zombie villager. Now that one thing you're going to note is that you're not going to get all 8 in one go. So what you need to do is have your splash potions of weakness, which is another thing you need. You are going to take some damage doing this. So you splash one with the splash potion of weakness, and then you hit them with the golden apple. You'll note that they start shaking. I do the same on this side. So you note that they start shaking, and that's because they're going through the healing process. One thing you need to make sure to do is now cover up their hole, so that if the sun rises, which it won't because I'm in survival, but if it starts rising, then they will not die. So I'm going to start doing that with the rest of the villagers. So splash potion and golden apple, splash potion and golden apple, and cover it up. And the same on this side. Of course I could use normal villagers, but I want to show you exactly the process of putting them in. So splash potion, golden apple, and golden apple. And you'll note that they will start showing off red particles and shaking as well. That's how you know you've hit them with the golden apple. Other than that fact, of course, that you'll go down by 1 golden apple. And last one. Here we go. Did that get hit? Yes, it did. And cover it up. And of course you don't want zombies getting in here when the villagers are finished. Now, while we're waiting for the villagers to heal, you can work on the entrance way for this, for the collection system. So I'm just going to dig myself down, and you need to make sure that you're a little bit far away from the villager compartment, because you do not want to open up the villager compartment and have them go everywhere, especially given that you just used 8 or some golden apples to get in, and I'm a little bit close here, as you can see. So I need to dig more down, and I forget exactly what level they were at, which is a bit of a problem because I usually forget and then open up the bottom part and find that they're there. Is that one there? Yes, too much. So I need to go back 1 more block. I usually use stairs as well here. And 1 more. I think that's good enough. No, it's not. It's too many. 1 more. Alright, and then you just have to punch your way through, and yeah, I'm really stuffing this up here because that is actually the hole for the compartment for the second layer of water. So we need to go back maybe 5 blocks, and we'll continue digging down so we get to the right level. So this is just your staircase. I'm going to keep digging this out a bit more. 1, and just, yeah, again I was just going straight down, and this bit of course you can decorate as you like. This is just a tunnel to get to where you need to get to, and that should be more than enough. So if I just go straight out, and at some point you should come across the hole over here, which turned out quite nicely. So make sure you punch it all out, and ending right at this tunnel. So you see the hole there, and you need to make sure that you end right at the hole. And let's go, we're nearly there. So we're nearing the finish of this farm, and of course you may want to put a few torches in here to light it up. Now comes the slightly easier part. We just need to find the hoppers, so we need to leave the 9 squares and put a block under here, then hopper into there and click into the hoppers. So that is your 10 hoppers, not that one. 1, 2, 3, you've got 1 here and your 9 under the hole. And so this is the collection system. Now if you were to just simply dump lava on the top, it would kill the golems, yes, but it would also destroy any item that they drop. Hence why you need a pressure plate. Now in Bedrock Edition especially, you need to have stone, and I think iron works as well, but stone pressure plates work as well. You need to make sure it's not wood, because the wood would burn. Now you need to get your glass out. You need 8 pieces of glass here, and once again they need to be glass blocks. And then so one, and just simply plop them in front of your hoppers, leaving the last one like this. When you put the lava on this block here, and before it flows, put in the remaining glass. Then you can take your 2 chests and pop them there, and that's your killing system devised. It's now been long enough, and the villagers will have now completely healed. As you can see, I've opened up the others already, and these ones are now fully healed. Now comes the part where you need some crops. Now, bread is a good one, so I'm going to get myself some bread. 8 stacks, I think. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is really the minimum that you need. Now, one thing you need to make sure is that it's not raining, so I'm going to set the weather to clear. And it needs to, of course, be day as well. So now you see if your thing works. So you dump down the 2 stacks of bread per compartment, and if they accepted it, that's good. And at some point you should start seeing them erupting the love hearts. I'm going to start giving the bread to the others, and hopefully they do the same. Yep, and you can see they took up the bread. It works best, I believe, if there's a brown coat villager, but it doesn't really matter. And there you can see they're starting to breed, and at some point they're going to give out a little baby villager, and that baby villager will get some of the bread as well. Come on, don't prove me wrong here. And there you go, so a little baby villager, and that you can see the adult villagers are throwing the bread to the little baby villager. Of course, this also works with carrots and with potato, and the more you throw in, the better. So I'm going to throw in some carrots here as well. But yes, and there we go. And of course, when you see them starting to breed, cover this up, otherwise you're going to get zombies coming into here and killing everything. And you can see that one's been going quite a while as well. And when I cover this up, there we go. So this is the completed iron farm. Of course, this design is to go underground. It's a little bit different if you want to build it above ground, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Now, the main reason I put my iron farms underground is that their footprint is a little bit less visible, so they're not a huge giant square of stuff above ground, and it looks pretty ugly and a little bit less easy to disguise as something else. Now, of course, you can build something on top of it. The only thing that you must do is make sure that this glass is uncovered. There's no block of any kind on top of it, otherwise that will stop the iron farm from working. This is the only thing from making the glass, that is, it's the only thing that making the doors count as doors in a village, and so if you cover them, that makes the iron farm not work. I found that out once when I built this design, and then I built a little iron farm house on top of it, covering the glass with a half slab, and then I wondered for a while why the iron farm wouldn't work, and that's the reason why. Now, at full capacity, these villager compartments should be able to get around 15 to 16 villagers in, I think, around 16 each. So that would make for about 64 villagers. It's dependent on the number of doors you have in the village. Now, in the iron farm. So at 16 villagers per compartment, that's 64 villagers, you should be able to get around a stack to a stack and a half, maybe 2 stacks tops from this iron farm. And of course, if you were to dump more villagers in, like if you were to dump 32 or so in, you should be able to get quite a little bit more, because the number of golems spawning is dependent on the number of villagers in the village. And this is a showcase of what you can do with an above ground iron farm. Now, this is the one I built in the Realm series, and as you can see, it's slightly different from the one that I just built in the early part of this video. For one, the doors are facing outwards, and there's only 7 in each side. The 8th is over here, but as you can see, that actually has access to the villagers over here. And so that's why there's a slightly bigger compartment. So you don't need 64 doors, you need -8, so that's 56 doors instead. You do need a lot of blocks to build this thing. I think it's around a full inventory, if not a full double chest of stuff. but the other resources are the same: the hoppers, the pressure plates, the glass, or at least 8 glass that is. And so yeah, this is an above ground one. It's not as pretty in my opinion, but you could make it prettier if I was a little bit more skilled at building. And as a final showcase, this is the iron farmhouse that I usually build. So you can see there's one there and one here. This is of course in the Realms series. You can build the iron farmhouse in the area enclosed by the glass, and that will work quite nicely. Of course you cannot build anything on top of this glass here, because that prevents the villagers and the golems from spawning. Now one thing I have noticed is that occasionally the villagers are susceptible to lightning strikes, and they will of course turn to witches, which is not good for your iron farm. I believe you can prevent that by putting a little bit of an overhang, I think, and that should prevent lightning strikes from getting to the villagers. But it's not entirely foolproof, and occasionally you do have to get in there, kill off the witches, and then replace the villagers again. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video on how I build an iron farm in Bedrock Minecraft. If you have, remember to leave a like and subscribe, and don't forget to keep out watching for my Realm series for more iron farm building, hopefully, and more survival Minecraft playing. Goodbye!